Hi, my name's Catherine from Vintage Sugarcraft, and I'm jumping on today to create my very first YouTube tutorial. Why am I doing this? Because we've all seen those Instagram reels, those 90-second snapshots of gorgeous looking cookies, and we're seeing those creatives making those, and they look fantastic. But what you're actually seeing on Instagram is a sped up 90 seconds, highly edited, polished version, in most cases, of how to achieve different looks with your cookie stamps. And I realized along the way, that's okay if you've been decorating cookies for a long time and you can kind of put two and two together and think, oh, yeah, I know how they achieved that. But at the end of the day, we all start somewhere, and I would have loved a reference when I first started making cookies, that step by step breakdown on how people achieve these different looks. So bear with me. This is a space for all cookie creatives, and I'm hoping that there's something in there for you guys along the way. I'll share my tips and tricks, the things that I've learned, and I am a completely self taught baker. There were no courses that I undertook or, no study or training. I'm just learning along the way, like you guys. So come along, join me. I hope you find it useful. And, there'll be a bit of chaos. There'll definitely be a bit of chaos because not everything works the first time. It takes practice, it takes dedication, and a love of cookies. Okay, so here we are. The first stamp that I wanted to demo is this brand new little design that we've got, which is like a scalloped oval stamp frame. It's got a really nice deep edge to it to pick up your fondant really cleanly and nicely. It has an insert there that you can use to use as a guide to cut out, say, some edible icing to do an image like that. I've just popped a little petite impression butterfly on that one. It comes with a cookie cutter as well, which is great for your dough and your icing. And I'm going to talk through how I use these and some of the tips I use along the way. So we've got the outside of the frame, you've got your template there, you've got your cutter. And I think first up, we're going to try and recreate this simple little one here. Now, first of all, let's talk fondant. So I use Queen's fondant, which is readily available in Australia. I'm really not sure about other countries and what they use. I've gloved up for this first bit because I'm just going to be kneading my fondant a little bit. So with this fondant here, I've used Colour Mill as the colour choice. And this is a sunset orange, and it's also rust. So I've just added that in. To get this vibrancy of colour, I will usually just mix up a small amount of fondant first, like a little shot of really intense colour, and then add it to my white queens and slowly build from there to get that colour up to where I want it. Now, as you can see, my fondant is pretty pliable here. That's because I've popped it in the microwave for a few seconds. I'm not going to battle with trying to knead cold fondant. It is just too hard on your hands. And I'm using my gloves for this, but when I'm actually decorating, the gloves are coming off. So if you're from the hand police, please know I have washed my hands thoroughly and they're clean. I just find them easier to decorate with when I'm not wearing gloves. No one's eating these except for my grandbabies, and I'm not gloving up to make a Vegemite sandwich, so I'm pretty sure they'll be fine. Okay, so let's get to it. I'm going to start with my base icing, and I've just used my Queen's fondant here with the tiniest bit of Americolour ivory. I find it just gives that nice creamy off-white. Don't go too crazy with the Americolour ivory. It tints really strongly, and it can turn out a buttery yellow if you put too much in there. It's salvageable, just add more icing and bring it back down. But for this demo, I've just used the tiniest amount, and I will show you how I go. So first of all, I've got my fondant. This is my base fondant, and I'm going to roll this really thin. So I use these guides. A bit hard to see. So these are exactly the same as my edible image guides, if you've got those. They're just in a larger sheet format. I don't have these available on my website, but if you want them, if you're interested in them, let me know. I use them because I love my Nana's old timber rolling pin, which is not great for rolling out fondant, but I love the way it feels in my hand and keeps me a bit connected to why I love baking. So I just use that over the top and then I'll peel that back. Beautiful finish every time. I'm going to take these gloves off now. I'm going to put a little bit of corn flour on my hands just so they're not sticky. Okay, so that's my base, and I'm just going to set that aside for a minute. I'm just going to push that up there, and then I'm going to work on filling my actual stamp. So for this, I'm going to use that darker color that I talked about, that rust and the sunset. I'm just taking a small amount. I'm just rolling it into a bit of a sausage. Now, I haven't put any baking release spray in here or any corn flour. This stamp doesn't need it. When you're first starting to purchase stamps, you will notice that there's all sorts of different acrylic, if you're using acrylic stamps. I don't know anything about 3D printed ones, so you're not going to find tips for those on this site. But with acrylic, I like the 6mm. It gives me the room to apply different depths if I want to when I'm lasering. And I use frosted. And you can see it's like a translucent frosted. You can see through it. There's a reason behind that. So if you're buying acrylic stamps, you will know that there's all sorts of different acrylic. There's frosted acrylic, there's clear acrylic, there's one that's quite like a pearly acrylic. I like the frosted clear because I can see through the other side where my fondant has picked up and where it hasn't. Clear acrylic, when I first started buying cookie stamps when I was decorating cookies, a lot of people were using the clear shiny acrylic, and I didn't know any better either, and I just really struggled with the clear acrylic ones. I think that shiny surface, it kind of sort of creates a bit of a vacuum, and I could never get it to lift properly off my contrasting color if I was doing a two-tone. I don't know why it is. I'm no scientist, but I just prefer the frosted. It lifts nicer. These are my little fondant erasers. And I just use this because sometimes you get, you know, that bleed, that mark around the edge of your fondant that can make your two-toning look a bit messy. So I'm just rubbing this gently around the sides, and it's just getting all those little furry fluffy bits off. So as you can see, that's sort of nicely in there, like that. Super easy. Now I'm going to bring this back down. This is my base, and like I said, I'm rolling this super thin. If you can see how thin that is there. It could probably even go a little bit thinner, but the reason I'm doing that is because fondant cookies, I don't know, too much fondant, I don't like it. I think it's just way too sugary for me. I like that nice fondant to cookie ratio, so I'm always trying to make sure that my fondant is about no more than 1/3 of the depth of my cookie. So I've just given that a light roll on there, just a bit of a press down, and I just lift from one side, and you can see how seamlessly that popped out there. Super easy. So I've just got this one is just like little butterfly kisses. An impression stamp there. And I'm just gonna look for the center, pop it in. The handle's really just a guide. And then I'm just gonna wiggle that, not too deeply, but just give that a bit of a wiggle so it's got a nice, even impression of font. Then I'm going to take my cutter, line it up, and just press through. I never lift my cutter before taking my icing away. I don't know, it's just a habit, I think. So that's off there. Then what I'm going to do is, these are just like cheap little chopping boards from Kmart, but they have like a textured surface, and I find they're really good for actually, you know, getting rid of any of that fuzz that may have stuck on there. So I just use a pizza slide. I like it. And I pop that on there if it's going to come off. I should have floured my pizza slide. So we're back on here. And I'm just going to give it like a little shake, just to get rid of any of those little edgy bits. And as you can see, that has come off absolutely beautifully. So here's a cookie that I baked up earlier. And I'm just gonna, I don't use any glues or anything like that to attach my fondant. I just use the tiniest bit of water. So I've got a little brush here, just a little bit of water on there. And then I am just going to dampen my cookie right around to the edges. Then using my pizza slide, whoops, that was the rolling pin. Then I'm just going to pop it on there, and then I just press around the edges. Just to make sure that all sits really, really nicely. As you can see, that was super simple, and now you've got a really, really sweet detailed cookie that you can pop with your set.